You are just a couple days away from becoming Virginia's 75th governor and first female. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited. I feel like my to-do list keeps getting longer and longer, but I'm really ready to start getting to work. I'm ready for Saturday and then everything that comes after it.
I know you've heard this numerous times, but you were the first female governor, and you have 3 daughters, a long line of women who have been waiting for this moment. What do you say to them, and what are you telling your daughters as you come to this historic moment?
Well, my favorite thing is actually to just listen to other people tell me what it means to them to have a woman governor. I mean, even just today, I was at the prayer breakfast at the beginning of the General Assembly session, and there was a woman who brought, well, actually, multiple women who brought their daughters forward and said, "I got to take a picture of my daughter with the first woman governor," and to hear people talk about the fact that they're so excited, or the campaigns that they've worked on, or the candidates they've supported in the past, or the ability to tell their kids or their grandkids. I had one gentleman a couple weeks ago tell me that when he was leaving the house in the morning, he told his little daughter, she's 5, I'm going to meet the next governor. And his daughter said, "Okay, tell him hello." And he said, No, it's not a him, it's a lady. And she said, "A girl governor?" And so I think there's something really exciting about just what it means to people of all ages to know that Virginia is going to have a woman governor, and hopefully many more in the many years to come.
Getting into policy, affordable Virginia, this is what we're hearing from you. It's what your team is pushing. Seems to be your top priority. So what are you saying to men and women right now across the Commonwealth who are struggling to pay their bills, who are struggling to buy groceries and don't know what next week's paycheck will hold?
Well, what I know is that people are making choices every single day about whether to pick up their medicine at the pharmacy counter, whether to pull back from their career because daycare is too expensive, whether to move or not move. And every day, this feeling of just how hard things are, it's impacting Virginians, it's impacting people and communities and our economy. And so as governor, I will be laser focused on pulling on every lever possible, on taking every initiative through my administration and working closely with the General Assembly to advance policies that will make a meaningful impact. Of course, we can't address all of them with just one fell swoop of an action, but it takes real intentionality and aggressive action to make a change that people can hopefully feel in the coming months and years.
I'm a new mom. Childcare is exorbitantly expensive, and childcare workers are paid pennies. Do you have a plan, or how will you address this for families in Virginia?
So here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have existing programs that are strong. Child care subsidies, support to families, recognizing the hard work that child care workers do, but we need to do more. And so I've been having really interesting conversations with members of the General Assembly, looking to what other states have done in some places where they've taken greater action to ensure that every person has access to quality, affordable child care, and that frankly the people who are the earliest teachers and earliest caregivers of the next generation are able to make a career of what we all know is so important, which is being those early child care workers, whether it's in the infant room or up through pre-K.
Governor Youngkin had 11 executive actions on his first day, on Inauguration Day. How many can we expect from you, and can you share what any of those may entail?
So I'll be doing the usual ones, the straightforward ones, making sure that in the event of any sort of emergency circumstance, that we're ready to take action, making sure that my chief of staff can take action. There's some traditional ones that you do, but in addition to those, I will be focused on issues of affordability, ensuring that in every single one of our secretariats, all of our state agencies are taking a thoughtful look and approach at their operations. How can we ensure that they are making life just a little bit easier for Virginians? How is it that they, through cutting red tape or eliminating duplicative policies or sort of hurdles along the way, that ultimately we can work to lower costs for Virginians? So we are working through the exact number. I don't think I'll be beating his number in terms of how many. But they are wholly focused and significantly focused on working to lower costs and meet the challenges that we're facing as a Commonwealth.
Any executive actions of Governor Youngkin's that you may keep in place?
So there are ones that you have to continue and redo, and ones that I'll be making adjustments to from his prior work. But certainly first day ones, most of them will be focused on affordability.
I'm from Nottoway County, and I've spoke to people there. And one thing I heard throughout your time representing that area is that even though people there may not have always agreed with you, you showed up there, and you showed up time and time again. So how are you going to show up for the people of rural Virginia who often don't see themselves reflected in Richmond or Washington? How are you going to make sure that they are felt in your administration?
Well, I think I would begin by saying I have represented many counties. I loved representing Nottoway County, and I loved the fact that I would show up places and people would say, I didn't vote for you, but, and it'd give me a chance and an opportunity to really hear their concerns and be able to work on the issues that matter most to them. And I hope that people are seeing in the cabinet that I have appointed so far, I've appointed people from across Virginia, many people who have served or work or grown up in rural parts of Virginia, agricultural parts of Virginia, and bringing that focus, whether it's having worked in a rural school district or having worked on economic development in agricultural communities. The points of view that so many of my cabinet members are bringing, I think, is hopefully a clear signal, as it's meant to be, that I want to draw on the expertise and experience of people who have grown up in, worked in, or served communities across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And then it's about continuing to be present, continuing to make sure that I'm working directly with local elected officials and local community leadership, that I am spending time across our Commonwealth, as is my entire administration. And so I look forward to the next 4 years traveling across Virginia and working to ensure that every Virginian knows that I'm working for them. They may not always agree with me, but I want them to know that I am working to hear the concerns of every community and govern with those concerns in mind.
You're taking office with the Democratic Senate and House, so I'm sure there will be lots of bills on your desk. How do you plan to use your veto power, and are there any bills that you've said, hey, don't bring me because I won't sign?
Today's the first day of session. I'm trying not to be that aggressive. So, the great thing is I've been trying to lead with, these are the bills that I'm most excited about. These are the bills that I intend to work on. Of course, specifically affordability in housing, healthcare, and energy as the priority ones that I want to move through the General Assembly. And then I've also been very clear with my colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle that while there are some folks who believe very strongly or support very strongly certain bills, such as a repeal of right to work as an example, that there are bills that I don't support and won't be signing. And so it's up to them how they choose to move those bills forward. I think certainly there's always value in having the debate around the bills that we may agree on or disagree on. But I think currently the current governor Youngkin has the record of vetoes. I'm not looking to break records in that place, I would say.
In the national perspective, with a Trump presidency right now, Virginia has been a red state with a Republican governor, and we may have avoided some interactions with the federal government because of that. How do you take office, and are you concerned about maybe ICE's presence or more of that presence here in Virginia when you take office?
Well, I think there's two elements to it. One, I think that there is a clear expectation, I would imagine out of the Trump administration, that I will disagree with them on many things. And I have been very vocal in my disagreement over DOGE and efforts to fire federal workers, the impact that's had on people, their livelihood, our economy. I've been very clear in the detrimental nature of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill that now my administration needs to contend with what will be a kind of catastrophic impact of poor, bad legislation coming out of DC. And so, what I have routinely said, and I'll make known to anyone in the White House, that when I was in Congress, I worked with the Trump administration. I had bills signed into law where they are looking to do things that might be supportive of or helpful to Virginia. I'm a willing partner where they will do things that might cut down on trust, impede our economy, hurt our people, hinder public education or private business. Those are places where I will clearly and vocally disagree and make the case for the people of Virginia as to why it is that I stand in stark opposition to the choices that they might be trying to impose on our Commonwealth.
1 year from now, how will you measure your success? Obviously, affordability is your priority. How are you going to measure how far you've come a year from now?
So I had a former governor recently tell me, have a whiteboard and all of your accountability, everything you're talking about that you're promising, make sure that you've got it written down and just check it off the list. And so he mentioned that to me just yesterday. So I've got a visual image of all of the lists of things that I want to deliver on. I think firstly, getting the Affordable Virginia Agenda bills through the legislature signed into law will be a straightforward measure of we have begun the process of endeavoring to lower costs or increase housing supply or address the challenges. Working among some of the executive orders that I'll be putting out requires reports back from the secretariats on issues of affordability or issues of related to healthcare and delivering healthcare, particularly amid the challenges coming out of Washington. So my ability to take what we receive back from those secretariats and act quickly to get our SNAP error rate down, which is a question of good governance, but also a question of ensuring that we can continue to provide a social safety net to those who may need it, particularly children. If we can fortify the way that we deliver and do the work authorizations or verifications for Medicaid, that will be certainly us being responsive to the needs of Virginians, particularly in a challenging landscape. And so I will be working furiously over the next year to be able to have both the sort of clear measures of success and bills signed into law, but also to make real progress on some of the greatest challenges I know our Commonwealth is facing.
It's Inauguration Day morning. What are you doing with your family?
I will be getting up to start the day a little bit faster and earlier than my daughters. So I think the first thing that will happen is I will tiptoe into my girls' rooms, give them all a kiss on the forehead as I start the day, and then when they're up and ready and everyone's on path over to the Capitol, I hope there's a couple moments of just quiet with my daughters, with my husband, where I just thank them and give them a hug and get ready for what the day is going to be.
What do you say to those who did not vote for you? I'm sure you've encountered many of those people over the last couple of months. What do you say to them about what you are going to do for the Commonwealth?
I would say that it is the greatest honor of my life to serve Virginia and Virginians as governor. I will not make everyone happy every single day. And I sometimes joke that with 3 teenage daughters, I'm quite comfortable with the reality that I don't make everyone happy every single day. But I want people who did not vote for me to know that I will listen to them, I will be accountable to them, and I will endeavor to do what is right. And so ultimately, my goal would be that when I make a decision, if someone agrees with me or they disagree with me, that they know that I have sought out the information. I'm endeavoring to make a good decision based on facts, information, and principles, and that I'm endeavoring to do right by Virginia and all Virginians every single day. And so I hope to earn the respect of those along the way, and more importantly, I hope that they know that I respect them and hope to demonstrate that through my actions.
You're the first female governor, but you may not be the last, and I'm sure you hope that you're not the last. So how do you leave a legacy behind for those who are going to follow ultimately in years to come?
I have to work so hard. Every governor does, but I will work so hard to ensure that every example I set is one of steadiness, is one of clear-eyed decision-making, is one of clarity of communication, and ideally I will leave this post in 4 years having done good work, having delivered as much as I possibly can for the betterment of Virginia, so that whoever runs for governor next, whether it's in 4 years, 12, or 24, that in fact there is a good record to stand on when people want to point to what was done by the first woman governor. And hopefully into the future it will become a sort of an inconsequential bit of detail.